Hi, it's Ivy Slater. Welcome to Slater Success Live today. I have a great guest. When serendipity happens, I was at a conference. I was on it's called We Conference. It's Women in E-Discovery that I was invited to speak. And I sat down to have a meal and I sat down next to this lovely woman and it just immediately connection, chat, business chat, live chat, traveling, we just had so much to say. And as the conference went on, had more and more enjoyment in getting to know each other. I knew in that time I wanted Amy Juers to be a guest on our Slater Success Live LinkedIn show that we're also now simulcasting on Facebook. So hey there, Facebook people. Amy is the marketing and PR professional since 1997. Okay, so she's got a couple of years under her belt. She works with C-suite executives in strategic marketing, public relations planning, and production and execution. She specializes in product launches, branding and rebranding companies, digital advertising, social media, email campaigns, trade shows, brochures, websites, and everything else that truly comes under marketing today and the marketing evolution. So, Amy, I can't thank you enough. I know you're busy. I know you've gotten a couple of the conferences under your belt. Thank you for joining me here today.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here.
So, how did marketing become your thing? Like, let's go back, take that step back before we go forward, and we see how we could be a resource. How did
Okay,
marketing become your thing?
no problem. Yeah, thank you for asking. Yeah, I really was not, when I was in college, I did take some marketing classes. Half of my degree was in the business area of business, but that was not my intention. I actually was working on my master's degree in management information systems, and I stumbled. This is back in the day when you used to look in the newspaper for jobs.
Oh,
I'm like,
I remember those days.
I know. I'm like, oh, do I even say that? But anyways, so I was just out of curiosity, wanting a change, going for my master's, and found this job that said MBA preferred, and I thought, okay, what is this all about? And it was a company named Quorum, and if there are any or a lot of legal technology people watching this or listening to this, Quorum is a litigation support company. I'm here in the Twin Cities, so it was right here in my backyard, and they did paper discovery. So they would take paper documents for litigation, scan them, put them into a database, et cetera, et cetera. And so they actually built one of the very first litigation searchable databases, document databases ever.
Wow.
So they go back even further than I do. But anyhow, so I just applied for this job and interviewed. And while I was sitting in the interview, the gentleman that was interviewing me said, would you mind doing some marketing too? And I thought, sure, no problem. I was ready for change. So my actual job was a business analyst position where I was looking at a lot of data and producing reports, et cetera. More on the operations side. And so I started out, that's how I started in marketing. And that was back in 97. And within a short period of time, I actually started to run the marketing department for Quorum. And I loved it. It just was a really nice fit for me. And then around 1999, the company is going through a rebrand, and we really wanted to get the word out there through PR. And so we actually hired the agency that I own now to help us with PR. So that's kind of their very beginning days. And so we actually hired this agency. They did a fabulous job. And over time, I became friends with the owner, and he was, talking about wanting to sell the company someday. And so I just said, essentially, when my job here at Quorum ends, or when can I come work for you? So I basically went and worked for the agency before he was grooming me to take over. And then I took over the agency in 2006. So
No,
the agency is oh, go ahead.
no, I said it's so interesting because I know, like it, and again, viewers, as I introduced Amy, I was like, there was just this instant connection here, and I remember I hired somebody for a former employee, and then ended up asking them for a job. And there's something about, when you see something and you step up and step into it, and you ask. And too often we say, oh, that would be nice, I wonder if, and we don't speak up. So I think there's a huge lesson there.
Yeah, very absolutely. I think, and I've read articles about this too, that women in general are less hesitant, or more hesitant, I should say, to go out of their comfort zone, to ask for that job that maybe they're not quite yet qualified for, or don't have. I never owned an agency before. I had never had staff and had to make salary and, insurance and all the whole, ball of wax that goes with that. And I had to learn a lot. But I didn't say no. I had him there to mentor me for a while, and I was appreciative of that. But I also felt like he did some things that I would have done differently in handling some client matters and whatever else. And so I felt like I had the opportunity to make this my own and make it something.
I wanted to ask you about that, because I think it's a very interesting conversation. It's very often we step into the leadership role and we have this transition period and choices. And I've seen my clients go through this at times of, well, this is how it was done. And that's not a bad thing. And now it's mine, right? Now I am the leader. And how do you transition of how things were done to how things are going to be done? And then gain that support of your people moving forward.
Yeah, that's a deep question, Amy. For me, a lot of it was instinct. And also I'm kind of a people pleaser, but I also know and understand that this industry, the legal industry specifically, and even the accounting industry too, we service both markets. It's very small, and reputation means a lot. And so I can give examples because, why not, right? This is a little bit about storytelling too. So he would call the front desk person and just basically scream at them for an invoice that was maybe 60 days past due or whatever it was. And I thought, and then they would call me and say, what's going on? So-and-so call. And anyway, so just a lot of bandaging having to happen. And so I thought, well, this is not good. There's other ways to handle things. And so from that perspective, and maybe a few other things, I really, truly just relied on my instincts and my desire to have an upstanding reputation in the industry. And I knew that in the long run that would pay off, due to referrals and a lot, some of our clients, when they're with one company, they'll change jobs and go to another company. And it's just a really good sign when they bring us with them, and get us into the new organization. And so that's kind of, the biggest lesson I learned kind of up front is just to trust my instincts and really think about what you're doing and how it affects people long term.
I think what you're saying is brilliant. First of all, it's so often we forget what I'll refer to as gut check.
Yeah.
You're referring to instincts, gut,
Yeah.
Have you listened to your gut? Have you listened to your instinct?
Yeah.
What is it telling you? We are, our gut, our instincts, our intuition is a huge piece of how we listen. And we forget sometimes to check in with that. So I think that is so true. And I will always look at clients and it's like, and they're like, what do you think? I was like, well, what'd your gut say?
Mm-hmm.
And then, I'll ask a few more questions, and then we pull the lens back and we look at things from a variety of directions. But I think that's really, it's spot on is checking with your instincts. And I admire you hugely because you took the role and you created yourself to be the leader you wanted to be versus the leader that to model after. You take whoever models for you in leadership, you take their good and then you add your good to it.
Right. You learn what to do and maybe what not to do. So yeah, and that reminds me of another piece of the puzzle is, when I first started when I learned about the opportunity to take over the company, acquire the company, I met with one of my mentors, and he was actually part of the leadership team at Quorum, the company that I was first business analyst, then marketer. And I said, Ron, this is coming my way, and I'm so nervous, and I don't know, I've never done this before, and and there's 3 words that have been stuck into my head and have helped me get through these times, which is just to be yourself. Amy, just be yourself. Don't try to be something that you're not, because people are going to see through that. Just be yourself, and right.
100%.
Yeah. So
And
that was kind of a turning point in my mind. It's like, okay, I can exhale, and I can just be myself and trust my instinct, but also absorb things that are around me to help me make good decisions, or the best decision that I possibly can.
Yeah, and I think, there's just times that we have to trust our own instincts on our own actions. So when sometimes, like, if I'm referring to gut checking, we think about, like, what am I hearing? How does this sit? But on the other side of it is this is going to be my action. Does it feel right? Does it feel right in my gut? Does it feel right in my instinct? And if not, having that trusted person to talk things out with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And my team is now my sounding board. So whenever I come up with a challenge, or something's going on, I often just literally pick up the phone, and I have certain people that I turn to for certain things. So I have all these different specialty people to help me out, because I will be the first person to admit, and then I admitted this way back in the beginning to my whole team. I said, this is new to me, and I'm not going to do everything right the first time. I'll do my best, but I also rely on them to give me feedback so that we can all do better. And that's helped too.
That takes a lot of confidence. It actually takes an enormous amount of confidence to be able to go to your team and show your vulnerability and your willingness to learn. And hats off to you for that.
Thank you. It was hard to say, but I also just I wanted to be realistic too.
Yeah.
That's the only.
And viewers, as you're scrolling through LinkedIn, feel free to post any comments. We do see them live. And ask Amy any questions on marketing for professionals. So Amy's specialty is marketing in the professional service space, including the legal area and the CPA area. And I will say, anytime you have a marketing expert, lean in as a resource and ask questions, because I'll tell you, I was excited to talk to Amy today.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
In looking at marketing, marketing 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we've been through an interesting few years. I'll say a piece of marketing was starting to do Slater Success Lives, right?
Absolutely.
Marketing 101, the pandemic created an opportunity, meaning I was traveling less for business, created an opportunity to build this show and get it out there. And we're always, building. We had Her Success Story, the podcast, going. We had it going successfully for several years. It's like, okay, that's audio. How do we, our people are very much on LinkedIn. How do we take this to the next step? And hence was Slater Success Live, starting on LinkedIn. And now we've expanded to Facebook there's so much every year that shifts in the world in business. And we're just kind of coming out of massive shifts. What can we learn? What can we be doing for our companies? There are certain basic steps that we should be continuing on for. And what should so let's do that first. So what are the basic steps in building a brand and getting our marketing out there that every firm should be doing?
Website. Look at your website. Make sure that it is presentable, ready, easy to understand, etc. So that's the new first impression, right? I mean, there are many other marketing things that you can do, but your website is a much more powerful tool nowadays than ever before, especially, with the pandemic and trade shows being shut down and conferences where you can't go roaming an exhibit hall and see a demo of a software real easily or talk to people and have that kind of organic conversation. So the first thing I would do, and when we get a new potential client, the first thing I do is I go to their website. If you hear about a new software or you're watching a commercial or whatever it is, probably the first thing that your potential clients are doing is checking you out on your website. So that's the face of the website, right? How does it look? How does it read? What's your first impression? Are people staying there and reading more? Then on the back end is the programming and the magic and the SEO aspects of it. And that's more programmatically something that you can do, but you can also, do things via Google to make sure that you're showing up in searches, et cetera. So it's a whole complicated puzzle, but essentially you want to be really concerned with your presentation, the front side of the website, and then the back side. And that's the initial first step, in my opinion. If you start doing other marketing and PR things for yourself or for that company, or we do it for you, we want to make sure that first impression is a positive one.
I think that makes sense. It's so often, if we go back in the day to old business, right? Because the principles of business does not change, So if you walked by a store and they had a great window,
yeah,
you'd be curious to stop and look.
Right.
And that's, to me, is that first impression of your website.
Right. Exactly.
And then what's happening? Did you go in and buy something? Did you tell all your friends about it?
Yeah.
There's the
Right.
Google piece.
That's right.
The back end.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then, depending on what kind of business you're in too, there's comments and Yelps and ratings and things of that nature that you can help and encourage. There's also, you could, LinkedIn is for professionals, for legal professionals, accounting professionals, and just any professional. LinkedIn is, we have found through our clients and the pandemic, et cetera, that has been one of the best tools for paid advertising. Google is there too, but because of the hyper targeting that LinkedIn offers, it's just a more powerful way to get your name and brand in front of the right audience a lot quicker. So, and that's something that we've actually seen a really big bump in terms of investments from our clients, is in that paid advertising. And that was, I think, mostly born out of the lack of trade shows and in-person events and ways for people to connect because of the pandemic. But it's still strong. Pandemic is, over, right? The major pandemic is over. Conferences are happening and people are getting together again. But that aspect of marketing is still holding strong with our clients. That's what we're seeing anyhow.
Right. Because when things shift, it gives us a chance to be more innovative.
Absolutely.
And then we get to evaluate it.
Well, here we are. This is a result of it, right? and video is hot too. So kudos to you, Ivy, because making things more interactive and exciting and real, I think people really enjoy that. And it definitely, you'll see when somebody has a campaign, if it does involve video or some kind of animation or something more than just words on paper per se, it definitely gets a lot more engagement. So that's another trend that is very popular right now.
Yeah. And I don't think that one's going away so fast.
No, it won't. No, I mean, look at how TikTok is just, and I'm not saying lawyers should go on TikTok right now or whatever, but that's the generation that's coming up next, right? And that's how they interact and communicate and Snapchat and et cetera. So we need to be on it needs to be on our radar, and eventually, I'm guessing, will become part of our regular conversation or mode of communication with our target audiences.
I think I love that you said that, because, I agree with you. We're not telling, the lawyers to go create TikTok, or the CPAs to go create TikTok. And what can we learn from, So just because we bring something up doesn't mean, oh, but right, I have to do that too. It's no, take a breath and actually listen
Right.
to the whole thing, and say, okay, what can I learn? We highlighted TikTok because it's video and we could see, and it's amazing, right? For certain industries.
Exactly.
And so, right. And like part of marketing is, where is your industry to me? It's like, when I talk to my clients, and I'm not a marketing expert, we talk about marketing, we talk about finance, we talk about team, we talk about sales, it's in marketing, where are your people? And I just said this literally yesterday to a client, and said, where's your ideal next client? I was like, and they're like, oh, we've done this ages ago. I said, it's time to do it again.
Yeah. It's okay. You can do it again. Yeah. And if you are watching this and you're someone that is actually targeting consumers, so B2C versus more B2B, absolutely look at it. Absolutely. Facebook is huge too for more B2C kind of engagements. Most of our conversation today is around B2B, so business to business, so professional kind of approaches.
What could we be doing thinking forward, as we're coming to, we're about halfway, right? We're halfway through 2022. And I will always say, at this halfway mark, we're looking to get to the end of a successful 2022, as well as set up for success now for 2023.
Yeah. I think,
just heard that.
Right. Oh, where'd the time go?
It's true.
I know. In a few months, people are going to start talking about 2023 budgets. And so because trade shows and events and public speaking is kind of coming back, look at those events that were perhaps successful for you in the past, or if a large percent of your target audience is going to be attending those trade shows, events, even the smaller boutique ones. Hang on one second.
Take a sip.
Thank you. Why not pitch yourself to be a speaker on a session or a panel, or pitch, an idea to whoever's putting on the programming for these events to speak at the conference. And that, I have to tell you, whenever we have a client speak at an event, there's always something positive that comes out of it, and no matter what. And that's how you and I met. So hey, there's proof right there. But
we have proof right now. And looking at this, looking at our cameras, there is proof of why you show up.
Exactly. And so, there's, other than just going there, think about speaking, think about pitching an idea, or sometimes, depending on what company or firm or whatever you work for, you might have to invest in a speaking spot, which is, again, always going to bring you something positive back. The ROI is definitely going to be coming back, as long as your target audience is in the room. Make sure it's the right event. And so I think with the events coming back, I think that energy, people are happy to get out there again. They're happy to travel again. I think companies and firms are more open to traveling again, and that's just going to hopefully increase and get back to normal throughout 2023. So really take a look at your budget and take a look at where you could position yourself in these events and conferences to be seen and to be heard and to make those connections. And I still think video. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think face, for lack of a better expression, FaceTime is really important. Okay.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of conferences, and I'm gonna be very opinionated here, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of conferences that are giving you this option to show up in person or hybrid. Okay. based on what you want to take away from the conference. If you're looking to create true relationships that's going to build your business forward, show up in person. If
Mm-hmm.
you're looking to get content that you're looking to take into your organization, or if it's CLEs or whatever else, and it's basically just content driven, you can skip the in-person energy and show up virtually. Okay. If you're truly showing up at a conference to build your brand, speak, get it out there, build the relationships that can take your business to the next level. That's worth the investment of showing up live.
Absolutely.
Because we often get questions about, well, do you think how many conferences should we go to, and do we have to go live everywhere? What else could we be doing? And I'm like, okay, this is to me the delineation. And I will say, from being live at a conference, we closed a new client this week.
There you go. Again, proof. No, I agree. I'll tell you, the scary 18 months of virtual only conferences, we dreaded it. And granted, it was all that we could do during that time, but the ROI is completely different than being there in person. And so what you said, I totally stand right next to you and would say the same thing.
Yeah, well, people do business with people.
Yeah. And because of what we're dealing with here, because of the professional nature of legal and accounting, there has to be that level of trust. And it's hard to get that level of trust through a computer screen, or an email or whatever else. So that's really important. And I'm really happy that events are back and that we get to see each other again.
So if I asked you to share one last tip that our listeners, viewers, as they continue to watch this LinkedIn Live, and people, just so you know, Amy and I are going to be keeping an eye on LinkedIn. She very clearly said she's very present on LinkedIn. You have questions, you pop into questions even after this live. We will come in and comment and keep an eye on it. So, and reach out to us and we'll give you all that information. But Amy, one tip for our viewers.
Oh my goodness.
I know there's so many.
No, I got it. Okay. If you are new, or you're launching something new, or you're starting a business, you need to not give up. Meaning, these industries, and especially professional services, it takes a long time to get started. It takes a long time to build up that trust and build up that client roster, and you just need to be patient with the industry. You need to be patient with yourself, but you also need to be persistent. And so the persistence comes in when you're doing your marketing, your branding, your PR, is to just continue banging that drum consistently over a long period of time, and eventually it will come. Obviously the proof of concept has to happen and be a thumbs up before all of this, but yeah, I've worked with a number of companies that were super excited and they had a great product, great vision, but they just didn't have the longevity to continue to be persistent, and they didn't have the patience. And so therefore they aren't here today. And so it's just really important that if you're thinking about doing an endeavor like that, to really think, it's going to take me 18 to 24 months to feel the energy back. And that's what I've seen. That's what I've experienced. And I've told these entrepreneurial spirited people these things. And some listen and some have their own vision, etc. But that's I think what is most important in professional services is to be patient and persistent.
It's interesting because we would think that's opposite ends of the spectrum, but they truly do go hand in hand. The idea of persistence, continue to show up, and bring your patience into it, even when you want to say, oh, when, right? Continue to show up, and patience and persistence. I love that. Amy, how could our viewers check you out, know more about you, and connect with you?
Okay. Well, I am on LinkedIn, as we all know, and it's just / Amy Juers, one word, and my name is spelled down here in the footer. And my website is edgemarketinginc.com. And I'd love to hear from you. I'm here to answer questions. I often, get a lot of like discovery questions and calls and feedback and almost like free consults with people. But I'm involved in a lot of different organizations, both on the legal and the accounting channels, and I can kind of help people navigate through those things as well. So I'd love to hear from you all.
Awesome. Amy, I cannot thank you enough.
Yeah.
And viewers, stay tuned to more Slater Success Live. We're coming back at you on August 3rd with Chris Ward. That is going to be at 4 p.m. Eastern. That's 1 p.m. Pacific. You could find all the other details in between those time zones. If you have things that resonated with you, put them in the chat. Put your biggest takeaway. If you have questions for Amy or myself, always feel free to reach out to us directly or put it in the chat, and we will be monitoring it and here to help. Until then, enjoy this summer, and patience and persistence is the way to go. Thank you.